Okay, welcome. So this is week 2 of the workshop. And again, we're here. We showed up for ourselves for this hour. Just do some stretching, just whatever feels right. Just stretching out your shoulders. Today we're going to still be seated. So you do want to get yourself, if you're not already, to a place where your butt is supported, but your back is not. And that you have some room today to lift out your arms. So we are going to be kind of raising out our arms and doing some arm things. So right now I see something that I have to kind of move out of my way so I don't knock it over when my eyes are closed. So do take in your environment and see what you're going to hit, and at least know that you're not going to hurt yourself. I mean, we're not going to be going fast, but still be aware, because if your eyes are closed, you might not know where things are. So don't knock over your glass of water, because that will not be a very Zen parasympathetic experience when that happens. But yeah, just like I said, do some stretching, just get back into the body, wake up the body a little bit, maybe wiggle on your chair, shake out the week. And then just invite you to close your eyes just for a couple minutes, just again, take in a couple deep breaths. Again, you did it, you showed up for yourself. Letting you put aside the stress from the week. I don't know about you, but it was a doozy of a week. So just taking some gratitude that the week is either over for you or on the home stretch of being over for you. And then just maybe inviting some calming imagery in. You know, imagine you're in a forest in the springtime, and there's some dappled sunlight, coming through the trees, and you're walking along a trail, and there's some fallen old trees and some moss, and you come upon some ferns, right? You know how ferns, they come out of a little mound, and think about that fern and almost like a time lapse where you see that fiddlehead, growing out from the ground as this curled up tight ball. And as it grows taller and taller towards the sunlight, it starts to unfurl the fiddlehead and starting to expand out and open up to the sun. And just the beautiful architecture of that. I've always loved ferns, and we're going to be calling some of that fern imagery back when we get to our movement section. But yeah, just take a breath here, and then we're gonna come back into the room and start a new quick topic to discuss today. And that the main topic today is fascia. So we'll be getting into what fascia is. But again, Koga is about being in the body, right? Being lost in the experience that is from within, when nothing really exists outside of who you are. So as we kind of touched on last time, what something looks like from the outside is kind of irrelevant. We assume that because we see it, we know, how to replicate that. But the engagement of the muscles from the inside can be very, very different. There are 1,000 different internal experiences, energetically and muscular skeletally, that can look very similar from the outside. So there's subtle aspects in our movement, right? And how we're supporting our movement. And these can often turn off or deactivate with age, with just years of being disconnected from the body, right? That the mind kind of disconnects from the body because of our society, because we're always forward-facing in all of our computers and electronic gadgets and books and all sorts of fictitious, wonderful things that are in our world, but they do separate us from this physical vessel that we rely on so much. So we need to kind of remap these fibers and turn them back on, and to kind of turn them back on with the same wonder and fascination that a young child kind of builds up on their own. Think of that toddler that's, just learning, how to walk. They're all kind of wobbly and stuff. And so think about the amount of processing that is going on, because they're learning it for the first time. They don't have all those autonomic patterns and mappings already kind of put into to quick recall. So they're learning their proprioception, and proprioception is a skill. It is a natural result from just spending time in it. It's like a sense. It's not something you have to do. It's something you be, right? It's a sense that you're taking in. And we kind of lose that as a focus, right? We have all these autonomic things that we can just call in, right? You get in a car, you drive somewhere, you can get there without even thinking about driving. Like, it is miraculous. But it sometimes doesn't work at 100% accuracy anymore. At least if you've, gone through illness or injury, or I think just with age in general, right? A lack of focus. So these things deactivate, right? Like, I think of them as muscle fibers, right? We think of a muscle as like, oh, I'm working out that muscle. And that is really far too gross of a term, right? Like, it's more of like a fiber by fiber awareness. And so essentially, like, parts of the body, and especially like our support structure, has kind of gone on autopilot, but poorly, right? Because we have all these repetitive and repetitious behaviors and years of forcing our bodies past what they can handle, right? Because we're taught mind over matter, just suck it up, just do it anyway. We are always, like, our society forces us past listening to our body through necessity, for sure. And like, for me, I know that I've had posture problems for as long as I can remember, right? And I know that they happened in college because I was in electrical engineering and I was doing homework till 2 a.m. and I'm like slumped over my table, studying, taking notes, like this. And obviously, like, I couldn't even hold my head up by the end of the evening. I wasn't supporting those muscles properly. It was all just slumped over. And that had a lasting impact because I never really corrected those things, and they became very permanent over time because we push past that fatigue. And if we keep pushing past that fatigue, wherever that fatigue is for you, or wherever that repetitive thing was for you, then if we do it enough times, the body learns that, right? The body learns, like, oh, okay, stop signaling. I'm going to turn off that signal of discomfort or awareness about that because you clearly aren't heeding what I'm telling you. So I'm going to stop telling you, right? The body is always going to be adapting to how we treat it. But the good news is that it will also adapt to us changing that behavior, right? So that's how we kind of like get disconnected from the body. That's how those fibers get disconnected, is because those signals eventually, just turn off through us ignoring them long enough. The muscles get so tired and we're not listening to the signals, so we just kind of dump into our joints. Like my resting state is like this, like, slumped Hershey kiss instead of this, like, natural state of having this, like, lifted, energetic posture, because it's just, it's what happened, right? Over 20 years of not being connected to it. So it became so normal that that became my normal sense in my body. And it feels very weird to, like, oh, I'm holding myself up because I'm awake during the day and I'm not asleep. So it's not just that, like, I forgot or that my body forgot, but it's also that when we do this, for years and years and years, that our fascia then again adapts to the slumpiness, right? Our fascia adapts to the slumpiness, and they tighten and contract. So let's talk about fascia. Fascia are thin, flexible layers of connective tissue that surround and support every organ that we have, every muscle, bone, blood vessel, and nerve in the body, right? Like, fascia is all over us. It's just layers and layers of tissue that in prior medicine was just kind of ignored as, like, inert stuff. And it's shocking, really, to me that, at least for me, I had not heard really of fascia until 5 years ago, I don't know, 10 years ago, but anyway, not in early life, right? You learn all about bones and muscles and ligaments, and you know how important those things are. You want to drink get your calcium for your healthy bones, and you want to, lift weights for your muscles, but I didn't get any early education on my fascia, that's for sure. And so it's surprising that it's not talked about more, given the amount of musculoskeletal issues that people have, right? Especially when they're past their 20s. So fascia provides structure and support to the body's soft tissue. It allows the body to move by stretching, and it also helps the muscles work by stabilizing the body, by improving circulation, and by helping the muscles contract. Fascia has nerves, making it almost as sensitive as the skin. Nerves, meaning that like we can get feedback from right? If it's a nerve, then we can feel it, right? So that means we can have proprioception of our fascia. Fascia provides feedback about the body's position and movement. However, there are certain things that cause fascia to thicken and become sticky over time. And when it dries up and tightens around muscles, it can limit mobility and cause painful knots to develop. So healthy fascia is smooth, slippery, and flexible. And factors that cause fascia to become gummy or sticky or thick, which is also called adhesion, include, number one, a lifestyle of limited physical activity, right? Too little movement day after day, which is the classic story of anyone that sits behind a desk, right? Unless you're actually, sticking to your exercise schedule. So it's very easy in our society to become very sedentary, and that leads to atrophy of fascia, right? Number two is repetitive movement that overworks one part of the body. So even for those people that maybe have active jobs where they burn a little more calories than us people that sit at desks, if it's repetitive, then clearly they're only keeping a certain portion of that fascia nice and lubricated, and they can still have this problem in other areas that have kind of been abandoned, because especially they have that other converse of they're probably in that situation where they are overworking it and perhaps have, again, shoved down those feelings of, man, I'm tired. The body says, I'm tired. This muscle's tired. I can't do this anymore. And we say, nah, just keep doing it. So those are the kind of things that all kind of lead to this. And then the third one is, of course, trauma, right? So surgery, injury, acute injury, chronic injury, any of those things. So if you have an area of your body, which I have 3, right, known areas of my body that just have issues. And so if you have areas like that on your body and you're trying to figure out whether it could be fascia pain, in general, muscle issues and joint problems feel worse if you move them, right? Whereas fascia adhesions tend to feel better with movement. They feel better with heat, right? Like a hot shower or a hot bath, because that's bringing back the tissue's elasticity. For some people, adhesions can worsen over time, causing the fascia to compress and alter the muscles that surround it. So this results in very hard, restricting areas of the body where your range of motion, isn't what it used to be, even though you can't really figure out why, because, the x-ray looks fine. And it sometimes feels like a muscle or joint issue when it actually can be fascia. So if you're dealing with an area like that, like working gently into and around these tightened areas can allow them to wake back up and release. So not going head in, because obviously it's an area of pain, right? We don't want to make them more mad. We want to lovingly kind of work in around them. And again, very slowly. And the slow is important because that's how we kind of pick up that like fiber by fiber awareness of like what parts of this have kind of turned off. And because they've turned off, I'm not supporting my body in the right way, and something's getting pinched or compressed or something like that. So I'd like to talk a little bit more about injury and chronic injury, specifically before we jump into today's movement. And so when we have any kind of an injury, our body naturally tries to protect us from doing that thing that hurts. And then this is a good thing, right? We limit our range of motion and we stay away from certain motions that result in pain. Don't do that. It hurts. Like we want that kind of behavior from our body. But the brain learns these patterns autonomically, right? So if the injury becomes chronic, then our motor pathways become conditioned to kind of always tighten away from or avoid certain muscles, ligaments, or fascia that typically result in pain. So we may just like habitually like get up from a chair or lift something in a certain way where we're just working kind of around that part, that joint or that motion or that connection that doesn't work quite right, and we might not even be aware of it anymore, on a subtle level, right? So this is the part of the disclaimer, right? Like, be careful around your spots, right? You know what they are. I have 3. My neck, I've had super issues with my neck. I have a right kneecap issue, and I have a lower lumbar spine clunky thing going on. And so of those 3, I know that my neck is the most delicate, right? So like, I'm always really careful if I'm working in my like thoracic spine area. And certain motions I now have identified as like, oh, those are still areas that, and it's like, it's gotten so much better. But it's a funny thing is, as I noticed how my awareness and my ability to engage in my thoracic spine has gotten so much better, I also realized like it still has so far to go. And that's why I've never gotten bored doing Koga, because there's always more to do, it seems. So all of these things, all of my 3 things have been with me longer than 5 years. So anything longer than 5 years, it may as well be permanent, in terms of body mapping, right? So just be careful around these things. Edge in around them. Always explore the supporting areas, right? Whatever your thing is, if it's your shoulder, right? Like lengthen and try to create space, gentle space. Go in baby steps, right? Always trace full support to gravity, right? Like, how are you holding up whatever that hurt area is, right? How are you supporting it? Look for more ways you can support it or create space. So for example, today is the spine, but it is including moving the arms. So if you know you have a chronic shoulder issue or something, and if I'm describing, right, some large expressive arm motion, scale that down, right? If you know that this is something that hurts your shoulder, then either, drop the angle, or when you open, open only to here, right? You know where your bounds are. Do not listen to me. Listen to where your area is and slow down before it, and then just explore and create space in that bound that is in your comfort zone, right? In the edge, but in your comfort zone. Depending on your injury, I do want to make a shout out to physical therapy. I definitely am a supporter of getting like actual physical therapy. I had a lot of physical therapy from my neck as well. And I know I got a lot more progress from that physical therapy than I otherwise would have, because I brought those physical therapy exercises into a Koga mindfulness embodied state, so I was always listening to my body. But of course, there are joint issues that doctors in physical therapy seem to have little help or advice with, right? It's like, oh, nothing's showing up on your x-ray. Like, no, we don't really know how to help that, but here's some exercises, So like, they don't know either. You have to listen to your body. I've had progress with Koga to reactivate the motor pathways, basically, that have turned off through just years of avoidance, right? So basically, we're trying to support the muscle fibers that just simply aren't being activated anymore, and reminding your body to activate them, right? So we often get into places where we're dumping into the joints that have been worn out, and through using Koga or any embodied movement, right, you're using the muscles to take the weight off the joint, thus allowing the joint to kind of have some space to recover and to get better. But you have to kind of free them up from the atrophied state to get there. So with that, we're going to start into our guided section here. So you don't have to open your eyes later. Like I said, we are going to be doing arms, so we're going to be lifting our arms out like this. And so your arms might be aching by the end. Again, always listen to that, drop them, move them, right? Do whatever you need to do. And then whenever you feel the need for massage, don't be afraid to kind of really apply pressure, right? If your muscle's hurting, apply pressure and kind of drag it down. to really kind of release, because that too, you have foam rolling, if you've ever heard of foam rolling, right? That's trying to break up like fascia that's kind of gotten to this like gunked up, brittle, not good state. So pressure and drawing things out is really good. Okay, so hopefully you've gotten yourself to your chair, settle in, and start by taking some slow, deep breaths. And again, look at your room. If you're in the office, look around you, make sure that you're going to feel like you're in a nice, safe environment, that you feel comfortable closing your eyes. And once you feel good about your environment, I invite you to close your eyes. Settle into your chair and just start taking some deep breaths, just taking an inhale and out. In and breathe it all out, even a little more out. I invite you to breathe in to your nose as best you can. Maybe your nose is a bit stuffed up, or maybe it's in the clear, but just try to breathe in your nose if you can. And maybe just taking a minute to feel how grateful you are that you can breathe in through your nose and have this nice full breath in your lungs. Maybe think back to the last time you were really sick and your nose was so congested that you could not breathe through it at all. Or worse, maybe your lungs were also congested and just like breathing in made you feel like you want to cough. And like we've all been there. So just think about how wonderful it feels now, though, to just wonderful, easy, relaxed breath. Just feeling thankful for your lungs, maybe placing a hand on your chest and just feeling grateful for your healthy lungs. Thinking about your heart, how your heart is pumping all that fresh oxygen in your bright red blood, taking all that oxygen to all the cells in your body, all the way to the top of your head, to your fingertips, to your toes. Maybe take your hand down to your belly. Think about your stomach and your digestion, how it's working hard on digesting whatever the last meal is that you had and translating that into nutrients and health for your body. Placing your hands on your legs, thanking your legs for carting you all over the place today and letting you participate in the world. And just feeling appreciation for all of that. Sensing into the chair that you're sitting on and the weight that your body is pressing down on that chair. And feel the force of the chair pressing up against you and supporting you in this room. Sense down to your feet resting on the floor. Sense out to the floor in the entire room that you're in. Just that entire plane of the floor relative to your body. Sense out to the walls of the room that you're in. Feeling the space between the walls and you. Taking another deep breath in. Now I invite you to think about your right foot and your right hand, and your right fingers and your right toes. And then ever so slightly and slowly, just start to wiggle your right finger and your fingers and your right toes. Feel how intensely, each little small incremental movement is. How much sensory input there is. And let that settle out. And now, think about your left hand and your left foot. And your left fingers and your left toes. And ever so slightly wiggle your left fingers and your left toes. Maybe listen more out of your left ear. And feel the entire left side of your body. And let that settle out. Now sense the entire right side of your body. Feel the energy of it. How does it feel? Now with your next inhale, sense both sides of your body pulling inward. Now on the exhale, just feel that relaxing outward. It might almost feel like watching an ocean wave coming in and out from the shore. Just inviting your sensory awareness to sense the right and left sides of the body, which as much as we like to think them as identical, they're not. The heart and stomach are more on the left, the liver's more on the right. Just take a few breaths more of feeling them pulling in and ebbing out. I invite you to sense out to your entire body as one entire whole. This body that is yours. This wonderful body that has shown up for you again and again. Even when it may have seemed from the outside that it was failing you, it is still here, still waiting for your energy. Positive energy heals faster than negative energy. I want to connect with myself in a new way. I want to connect with myself in a new way. We are energetic beings, and energy flows up through our chakras like a channel. And I'd like you to invite your awareness back down to the base of your spine and starting to engage the weight of your body off of the chair, creating space and engaging the muscles in the pelvis, supporting the lumbar spine, lifting the weight of the body off of the pelvis. I invite you to bring your awareness into the middle part of the spine, vertebrae by vertebrae, lifting the weight of the body off of the one below it, creating vertical space, lifting the weight of the body, and allowing each of the spaces between the vertebrae to relax and fill with fluid. And I invite you to focus on the upper part of your spine, lengthening the body, lifting through the front of your chest and allowing your shoulders to rotate back, feeling the shoulder blades naturally come down the back, feeling the energy of this posture. Now feel the energy between the base of your spine to your chest. And I invite you to imagine that you are like that young fern that we visualized earlier. A bright spring green feathery fern frond growing out of the soil, growing out of the earth that supports you. Feel the roots of your energy and draw the nutrients up from the soil beneath you. Send your roots deeper into the soil and draw up from the soil nutrients. Sense up towards the sunlight. Feel your spine grow towards the sunlight, just as a stem would grow cell by cell towards the sunlight. Engaging from deep in your pelvis like a slow cascading ripple. Feel every cell reaching up towards that life-giving light. Really try to imagine that sunlight above you. And from this place, I invite you to curl your body forward, relaxing down the spine, curling it forward. And now again, bringing that fern imagery back in, engaging the pelvis and the middle spine and the upper spine. Slowly uncurl your spine back up to vertical. Vertebrae by vertebrae, expanding and sending the breath into the space between each one. And when you're back upright, engage your arms and let them represent the leaflet, right? Like open your arms up to the sides and open to that sun. Unfurling out to the side, supporting them, lifting them towards that sun. Lifting and spreading your arms out to the side, and only lifting as high as feels fully engaged and supported to you. Let them drift down or inwards as needed to where you feel that full support. Explore holding your arms out to the side. Can you strengthen or better support your spine? Can you re-engage and lengthen towards the sun? Can you take up more space? How are your shoulders? Are your muscles in your shoulders fully holding the weight of your arms, or are your arms hanging on something? And now we're going to do some gentle backwards flexion. So tighten around your abs and your back. Make sure you're fully supported and lean backwards and open up just an inch, just a little bit, just to expand that wrapping backwards as if you were leaning against a giant ball behind you, but lifting and engaging and creating and stretching around that ball. Stretching and expanding around that ball. ferns grow in this manner. They unfurl with this backward arch, opening up to the sun. And you can go a little farther, or you can stay where you are and just go deeper where you are. What else can you support? What else can you expand? Can you stretch your arms out farther to the sides, reaching the walls of the room that you're in? Drawing the nutrients up from your roots, drawing the energy up in your body. Feel the energy of this. Relaxing and bringing back to neutral. Let your arms relax down if you like. And now let everything curl forward and relax and massage out anything that's aching. Massage out your shoulders. Massage out your back and your abs. Just let everything relax down and be the receiver of this action. Give yourself the reward and the pleasure. How good it feels to relax that back down after engaging it. When you feel like you've relaxed everything sufficiently, settle back in and just take some more breaths and listen to the music. Again, engaging that spine back up. Just let your body respond to the music. It doesn't have to be big. How would your body respond to the music? They say plants respond to music. How would this fern respond to this music for now? You can include your arms. Notice the intricate dance between your shoulders, orchestrating your arms. Notice the infinite geometry between your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists, your fingers. The infinite angles and combinations. And now from this very activated, engaged place, we're gonna again change up the music to something a little bolder. With a much stronger melody and beat. How would your body respond to this music? Music is medicine. Feel it. Let your body feel it. Let it move you. Let your arms get back involved if you would let them drop. See the ribbon, just expressing completely free form. Engaging and lifting through the spine, engaging the shoulders. Thinking about those shoulder blades. Really exploring the shoulder blades. exploring the range of motion. And again, you can make the movements a lot smaller if you want to and still match the music. Play with it. Choose something very small. I want to connect with myself in a new way. Remembering to lift through the spine, supporting all the way up. I want to connect with myself in a new way. Remembering to massage as you need to. Anytime something feels fatigued, drop out. Give yourself a nice massage. I found even sometimes itching. The skin can feel very good when you've worked out an area, depending on the thing, right? There's certain areas that feel better, running your fingernails down your back. And then coming back to a new area, exploring something different. Okay. Awareness all the way to where that's supporting you, all the way up. The rhythm, moving to the music. Creating space and lengthening. Slowing down and exploring things on a practically cellular nature. All right, now let that settle out and giving yourself any more massage that you need to. Coming back into your chair and back into the room. And when you're ready, you can come back and open your eyes. So hopefully that was an enjoyable time, spending just time within yourself. And hopefully, I know it's harder when you're in the office for sure. That's the challenge version. But to be able to find that ability to drop to the world within, even though, there's stuff going on outside of you, It's hard even when you're in a nice, quiet, room to yourself. It's super hard in the office, but either way, they're important skills, and they truly are skills. The more time that you spend time trying to quiet the mind, the better it actually does get at it. So find a way to feel impressed with all your body can do, right? If you are alive, there's more going right with you than wrong with you. So try to focus on that. I did want to send out a reminder for next week that is going to be a standing exercise. So ideally, I would love it if that was not in shoes, right? Because shoes are obviously muffling your feedback, right? So if you have to do it in shoes because you're in the office, it totally can. But if you could bring like a hand towel from home maybe, or just paper towels from the kitchenette perhaps, anything where you could pop off your shoes and have something, or if you are fine standing on the floor, that's fine too, but I would probably rather stand on something than bring those germs back in my socks and put them back in my shoes. So whatever, you do you. But anyway, so think about a way that you might be able to take off your shoes wherever you might be listening to from next week. And the last one is, again, homework assignment. In terms of trying to find mindfulness in your daily life without taking any more time out of your day. Last week, our attempt was brushing your teeth. This week, I'd like you to find an opportunity to fold laundry mindfully, or washing dishes. I mean, that's pretty similar. But basically, we were doing arms today, right? So if you're going to do laundry anyway, put on some nondescript music that is weird and your brain isn't used to processing, right? And do that folding, but be in it, right? Like, just think about how exquisite it is that our arms can do all that, and you can fold and sort and plan and just like be in the exercise of that activity, and just see if you can get some parasympathetic healing in while you fold your laundry, instead of thinking about that thing that you probably already thought about 10 times. So with that, I'm done with what I wanted to cover, so I'm going to stop the recording.